Welcome back to the European League of Legends Championship Series. I'm Joe Miller and I'm joined here behind the caster desk once again by the steadfast Trevor Quickshot Henry. And it's time for our third game of the day as ROC take on FNC. Now the series is tied at 1-1, but the last time that these two teams met was in the LCS a month and a half ago.
Yeah, during week 3, FNC beat ROC, and during week 4, ROC got revenge. But truthfully, with over 6 weeks of games between then and now, and considering how both of these teams have in fact been on the decline in the LCS since then, this match is effectively a clean slate. I think even though ROC didn't play at Intel Extreme Masters last weekend, they were there for some promotional matches and for some fan meet and greets. So we'll have to see if the additional games versus international competition, as FNC were playing there, is going to benefit them.
Let's talk about ROC Super Week, though. For those that don't remember, ROC were able to beat Gambit in their first match before then going on to lose to Millennium, Alliance, and SK Gaming. Now, the losses also cost them their first place position in the table. We've seen ROC pulling out champions like Mordekaiser once more, Aatrox in the top lane along with Wukong and Varus, but to be honest, they simply didn't have the success that ROC were hoping for.
No, but I was happy to see ROC mixing things up in their champion pool. I think their weak early game, however, meant that those new picks were not enough for them to overcome their struggling objective gameplay early on. We got some information to put this into perspective for you. Across all 4 games in Super Week, they secured first blood, which is fantastic, but it seldom led to any mid-game power for the team. Against Gambit, in a game that they won, ROC were able to secure 4 out of 7 dragons. But then, only 1 of 6 versus Millennium, and 0 of 3 versus SK Gaming, meaning they only secured 1 out of 9 total dragons across their next 2 games, which is just simply not enough at this level.
Yeah, and Celiver continues to struggle as he has the second last average CS at 10 minutes and the last average CS at 20 minutes for his role as AD carry.
Yeah, Celiver has been struggling, but it's not only Celiver, because Jankos also needs to find his form once again. His KDA for week 7 and 8 was an incredibly low 1.2 and 1.83 respectively. And if you recall, for Jankos from earlier in the splits, he was a large reason as to why ROC were securing all of those wins and why ROC were sitting at the top of the table at the beginning of the split.
And their opponents in this one, FNC, seem to be on the up and up. They went 2-2 during Super Week. They lost to the Wolves and SK Gaming while they beat the Super Hot Crew and Millennium. That may not be the most impressive, but more recently, they also placed in the finals of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, where they did, of course, get beaten 3-0, but the tournament has to be considered a success overall for them.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. FNC did really surprise at Intel Extreme Masters last weekend, and I actually think it has a lot to do with them breaking their losing streak and performing much better during Super Week just prior to the event. Individual mistakes are, however, simply costing them, and as a team, they are playing their mid-game significantly better, but I think it's because of that strong mid-game play that allowed them to get all the way through to the finals. I do have to call out FNC's solo lanes though. Soaz and Peke have not been as consistent over the last few weeks. For example, during Super Week, Soaz had one game where we went 5-0-14 on Malphite, Peke went 8-3-9 as LeBlanc. Now those stats look like anomalies when you compare them to the next 3 games, where Soaz ends up going 2-7-7, and Peke ends up going 8-9-10. It's these 2 players, when they perform well, their team wins. When they perform average, their team's losing.
The one shining light and solid ROC, though, has to be Reckless. He's an AD carry that always has a positive effect on the game. During Super Week, he only gave up 3 deaths, ending 12-3-10. And during Intel Extreme Masters, he once again shone in his role.
Yeah, he always does. Reckless is a fantastic AD carry with great positioning and a really good ability to CS even when under pressure. The only complaint or really argument that I could call out in his gameplay is that he does tend to err on the side of caution. So we need to see if he's gonna maybe change that up a little bit to help his other solo laners when they're underperforming and how they handle the duo lane of ROC.
Well, both teams are coming into this match with inconsistent records after leading the table during this spring split. The question is, which squad will shake off their losses and bring their A-game to the Rift today?
I think ROC is like every team. Sometimes you play really good, sometimes you play worse, sometimes you play better. I think they are going through one of those times that they are not playing super good as before. But it's all about just knowing how to handle it. Like, don't let it get you too down or you will end up like us.
I don't know, it's hard to predict how will they play because they're not consistent. Once they play really good, another time they play bad, so I can't predict how that match will look like.
playing against Rocket would be a really tough match because they had some hard times as well. They lost their 2 last matches.
Individually, I think Overpower is not such a great player, but he always comes up with this new stuff that works and can surprise people, and that's really one of his strengths. But if you actually know his picks in advance and you know the counters, I think it can be easy to counter him, perhaps.
We are not afraid of Fnatic. I think we can win versus them. We are 1-1 versus them, and I think we are going to take third game.
We know that they want to win, but we want to as well because we want to be at the first place.
And some wise words there from Peke about, you can't let this streak of bad results really get to you because, well, you could end up like Fnatic.
Yeah, that's the case. And the problem is, I don't know if Fnatic have resolved their problems. And the reason I say that, if you watch them at IEM, many of the mistakes that cost them their massive losing streak are still there in their gameplay. They really need to find a way to iron out those bugs and level up their game again.
Well, let's take a look at the starting lineups for this game. Starting on the blue side, it's ROC with Zazas in the top lane, Jankos in the jungle, Overpower in the mid lane, and the duo of Celiva and Vanda.
Yeah, and over on the red side, it is Fnatic with Soaz in the top lane, Cyanide in the jungle, Peke in the mid lane with Reckless and Yellowstar as the AD carry and support for Fnatic.
And our featured matchup of the day takes place in the jungle in this one. We have our eyes set on Cyanide and Jankos as we kick off the battle.
Yeah, before we start, I really want to highlight how these players perform on the same champion, starting with Elise. Cyanide has gone 16-7-23, 3 wins, 1 loss, whereas Jankos has gone 15-12-22 with 3 wins and 3 losses. The reason I highlight that champion, the way Cyanide played Elise at IEM was phenomenal. Both junglers sit at very similar kill participation at 68 and 69%, and the interesting difference in their overall season stats come in the additional assists that Cyanide has accrued over the split. It also does explain his higher death count. When you look at the junglers, I think there's quite a big contrast in styles. Cyanide is arguably one of, if not the most supportive junglers in the league. He gives up his jungle camps to his solo laners all the time, and he's often a primary initiating force for Fnatic. Think about his Wukong games. Whereas Jankos on the other side, he focuses much more on early ganking and controlling the lanes. I also feel like Jankos' individual performance, it's much more integral to the success of ROC. Whereas for Cyanide, it's his solo laners that determine the success of the team.
So coming in towards Champion Select then and having a focus on the junglers, let's start off with them. What kind of bans are we expecting from both of these teams?
I have to feel that if ROC do not want to first pick Elise, it has to be a consideration maybe to ban away. Something that is sitting on the side of Fnatic as well. If we look back to IEM performances and considering how many times Jankos has played it, that would be my number 1. I also think Ziggs is another consideration. It's something that was banned against Peke multiple times at IEM, and it is a champion that you can play well on, even if you're underperforming as a player.
Well, here we go then, in towards Champion Select. What are we going to see? First out the gate, ROC banning straight away the LeBlanc against XPeke. We've seen some great performances out of him on that recently, as well as the Elise, as you just mentioned.
So keep in mind, Cassidy is still available. It's something that both of these teams have an ability to play. Overpower and ROC left Cassidy open against Alliance during Super Week. So we'll see if one of these teams removes it from the table. Remember, it is 4.3, so it hasn't been reworked like you're playing on live at the moment.
We do, however, see a AD carry ban in towards Reckless here. Sivir taken out of the mix in this matchup. And again, another one that's becoming more and more popular here in Europe after seeing masses of popularity over in Korea. Other ban was Kha'Zix coming out, another one that's risen to performance on the 4.3 patch.
So slow picks and bans here for Fnatic. I think the Kha'Zix ban is because Insect simply tore Fnatic apart at Intel Extreme Masters. They don't want to fall prey to that one again. On the same token, Fnatic played against and with Sivir multiple times at that event. So I think it's quite a smart ban from ROC. What it does mean though is Caitlyn and Lucian are still open, and we've actually seen many teams in the past banning one or more of those champions against ROC, targeting Celiva out.
Other bans coming in. Cassidy, final ban for ROC against XPeke. Now, Cassidy, we've had questions about it. Obviously, we are on 4.3, so it's not the totally new Cassidy in this one, but certainly a little bit less popular, that's for sure. On the other side, Lulu, we talked about it in the pre-game show today, a master bully in lane and something that Fnatic don't want to deal with.
Interestingly, Fnatic are one of the only teams that don't run her in the mid lane. It's something that we've seen from Fnatic time and time again. It's Soaz that runs it for their team, and we haven't seen Peke on that little Yordle. So removing it from the table, they simply do not want to deal with it at all.
However, first pick not really surprised because Renekton sneaking through here, so I expect that comes into the first round of the picks, and as it falls, it comes to ROC as their favorite choice in the top lane here for Xaxus.
So the question is, where does Fnatic go from here? We've seen Renekton in the top lane being, super dominant and super consistent over the course of the split, and something that Soaz himself has played very, very well. The other sort of top priority top laners are still there. You've got Trundle still in the mix. You've got Shyvana if you want to go that route. We've even seen Soaz running those AP tops like Gragas, like LeBlanc in the past. So there's a lot of options for Fnatic. I almost wonder if a Lucian Thresh might not be the safe route to go. It's something that we see from these teams many, many times.
Well, right now they are hovering over the Lucian. That'll be locked in. But Gragas will be the choice here for Fnatic. XPK has shown us many a time how strong he can be on this Gragas. That leaves, of course, the likes of Ziggs open, to be honest, which it really wouldn't surprise me to see Overpower going for in that mid lane over the other side. But the AD carry at least taken away there from Celiva.
Yeah, so Celiva's most likely going to default to Caitlyn. It's what we've seen him doing in the past. He did try Varus a couple times in Super Week, was not particularly impressed by it. What we have also seen from both Jankos and Cyanide is a trend towards the Pantheon, the Evelynn and the Wukong as far as the junglers are concerned. What I like about the Gragas lock-in here for Fnatic is that Peke played it an immense amount of times at IEM, which is just last weekend. He had some very good performances on it. But we also know it could go to Soaz. So there's always that little bit of doubt in the mind of where are they actually going to stick that champion and who's going to get their hands on it at the end of the day.
What will ROC here lock in for their second and third choices? Looks like we're going to be seeing Jankos actually bringing the Lee Sin into the fold of this one. A champion which, is not up there with his most played champions, but he has had some success on that one as well. You think back to the good win against Alliance, and earlier on even in the season where they took down Alliance the first time around. This time against Fnatic, we also see Thresh taken away, not allowing them to have that Thresh Lucian lane that we talked about earlier.
So what I like about the Lee Sin is it fits Rocket's playstyle. It fits Jankos' tendency to early ganking champions, to getting in the face of Fnatic and trying to disrupt them. Vander on Thresh, for the first 5 weeks of the split, was the best Thresh player. He landed multiple hooks. He was always saving his teammates. But you've also got to be honest and call him out. The last 3 weeks of games, he has not been on the same level. He hasn't been able to find those picks. He hasn't necessarily been able to sway the tempo of a game with that champion. So we'll see if Vander's maybe got some confidence back after heading to Poland, having some fan meet and greets, and a little bit of time off.
So we did see Siva banned earlier on for the utility that she brings in there as well, being an AD carrier, big force in the side. They've picked up a Karma support which can offer that whole big speed up for your entire team. Also taking Pantheon here in the jungle for Cyanide.
So this is only the 4th player in the LCS to pick up Karma. We've seen Mixer, J-Ree, and Nif running Karma support in the European LCS, and now it's going to be Yellowstar getting his hands on the pick. What we did see from KT Rolls to Bullets at IEM was when they didn't have Siva, they replaced her with Karma, using that big AoE speed boost from her Mantra and Mantra and E, if I remember correctly, and just gives that team basically a mini Talisman of Ascension. It's great for engage, it's great for disengage, and knowing how safe Reckless and Yellowstar do tend to play in the lane, I think it'll work out quite nicely.
Well, ROC now on their final 2 picks, and AD carry is going to be Caitlyn. So Caitlyn Thresh that ROC have now in the lane, and also going to be picking up Yasuo here to go in that mid lane up against Peke's Gragas.
So the thing that I don't necessarily like about this pick is there's a limited number of knockups. Yes, Thresh has got a knockup. You've also got the kickback from Lee Sin, but what worked for the Chinese teams was comboing a Shyvana knockup into a multi-man last breath from Yasuo. We'll see how Rocket plays that one out. As far as the mid lane matchup goes, Yasuo against Gragas, as long as Overpower times his wind walls perfectly or properly, you can mitigate all of the bursts from Gragas. You actually have kill potential on Gragas because you can avoid the explosive costs. You can mitigate them, put that wind wall up, and make sure that Peke has no kill potential on you.
Oh, Fnatic going to lock in this Shen. It's a champion which Soaz was very vocal about disliking the playstyle of. In the end, though, they switched last second in towards Shyvana. So it's Shyvana versus Renekton top lane. I feel like we've talked about this one a few times, a few hundred times it feels like almost by now at this stage of the season.
So the one thing that we are seeing about this matchup is that there's a ticking time bomb on Rocket's side. we once again see an all-physical composition here as far as the damage is concerned. And if Rocket don't get themselves an early gold lead and an early advantage in the game, Fnatic's well-rounded composition is going to outscale them. You've got magic damage from Gragas and from Karma, depending on Yellow Star's going to build up. And thanks to the strong engage and disengage of both Gragas and Karma, I actually feel like in the big 5v5s, there's a very strong advantage here for Fnatic. So we need to see Rocket pulling ahead and far ahead very early on.
Well, we do have that Renekton in the top lane that's going to have the advantage. And you have to say, we talked about it in the pregame, Jankos is an early game jungler that loves to get involved. And if they don't have that kind of pressure that he's had earlier on in the season where Rocket were doing so amazingly well, they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thanks to the picks and bans that Rocket does have right now, I think the laning phase is in their favor. I think they've got a lot of things they can work with, but it always matters. You know, the theoretical composition versus the in-game decision-making, that's where you've got to make it work, and we'll see if Rocket can do it.
Well, with the picks and bans behind us, let's take a look at who you guys think has the edge in this game. According to the vote, 61% of you have gone to Fnatic, a decent amount considering where both teams are right now. Also like to remind you guys that you can get tickets and join us here in Cologne and watch these games live. Just head over to lolesports.com and click on tickets for all the details.
Yeah, I definitely think the performance last weekend is playing into everybody's mind. You don't make it to the grand final of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship unless you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And Fnatic did. They had mistakes, they had problems that they need to work on, but at the end of the day, they still delivered.
So here we go then, in-game, it's Fnatic versus Rocket. We will be able to pick this one up. A very much, it was a top of the table clash, we can definitely say that when we look back at the previous ones. Right now though, it's between two teams that are definitely not stable in terms of results right now.
No, that's definitely the case. And this is 2 of only 4 teams in the European LCS that have sat in that first place position. And we'll have to see how this works out in their favor. I mean, right now, Fnatic, they have fallen from glory. They had a massive window, this massive buffer of safety, and now, you know, if they continue losing, they actually run the risk of being placed in 6th position and getting relegated into, you know, the playoff bracket.
Still so many games to go, and because the table's so close, it's hard to even talk about those final positions by now because there are still so many different outcomes here in the European LCS. Well, we saw how that went in the end of Season 3 in the summer split, where we had to play tiebreaker games at the end of it to actually figure out who was going through and who was going to the playoffs and promotion.
I'm racking my brain right now. Was it 8 extra games that we had to play? Or 6 extra games, I think, at the end of the Super Day. It was 6 games already. It was an incredibly long day. And the way things are looking right now, we've got the possibility, but a lot of these head-to-heads are actually sitting 3-0 in favor of one team. So maybe that head-to-head tiebreaker rule could shorten the last few days of our Super Week, I think.
Well, the more games, the merrier from my side. I'll put that out there now. Rocket here, we can see, are initiating a lane swap. It looks like they want Celiva and Vander to go in this top lane up against Soaz, and they're going to be seeing Renekton coming down into the bottom lane, where Yellow Star and Reckless will be waiting for them.
So I wonder what the thinking is behind this decision, whether or not they're just trying to control the jungle path of Cyanide, or whether they were anticipating a lane swap from Fnatic. Because Renekton into Shyvana is a matchup that Renekton wins. Soaz already in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, a bit of a face check here going on. He may just be forced to flash. Ignite is going to be used. There's a lot of damage coming in. Peacemaker comes down. Flash not used there by Soaz. He played it very, very patiently. Did manage to get away, but that means that he's getting no farm for these first couple of minutes.
So Soaz also did not pick up his trinket right at the beginning of the gate, tried to make it out of the base as quickly as possible. It doesn't even look like he's picked up another one this time around, so maybe foregoing trinkets this game. We'll have to see how long it takes him to get that. But, as we said, Renekton into Shyvana is a matchup that Zaza should be winning. So if Rocket have done this lane swap, it was either in anticipation of Fnatic swapping, which didn't happen, or because they want to try and control maybe the red buff of Fnatic or something similar. We'll see how Janko's paths and tries to work the map.
That's the great thing about this week, that some teams have had that break. As you mentioned, Rocket were actually in Katowice. They're doing some more promotional style stuff with the fans over there in Poland, but I'm assuming that they've had a bit more time in terms of preparation for this week, other than Fnatic, who obviously had a long schedule in front of them and got through to that grand finals. We do see Zazas there just doing himself. The Golem's going to go decently low from that, but will actually be headed home here in just a second. Level 2. Safe. No need to to be worried about that one, Rocket fans.
No, what I really like about Zazas doing that, he's got himself CS already. He's got a level advantage over Soaz. And if you notice Reckless and Yellowstar on this bottom lane, they're not shoving the wave. They're not actually pushing that wave super hard. Xpek's in a little bit of trouble. Here comes Jankos.
Jankos coming in there, flashes away from the Q and the knock-up out of Overpower. Perfectly timed there by Xpek, showing how cool he is in these kind of scenarios.
So at this point in time, the flash is down. So if Overpower and Jankos repeat that in the next couple of minutes, there is first blood potential. We do see Jankos now moving to this bottom lane to try to support Zazas. And the point I was trying to make earlier, Celaver and Vander are shoving that top wave against Soaz. They got Soaz out of the lane, and they're trying to put some pressure. They've caught him!
All coming in onto Soaz, and they got the damage here though. No, sorry, there is that flash obviously for Soaz because he didn't use it at level 1 after face checking that bush. Meanwhile, Cyanide is coming around to try and help out on that top tower.
So at this point in time, this is the advantage Rocket have gained for themselves. They've got 50% of Fnatic's top tower already dropped in HP. In the bottom lane, we'll see in a second as Reckless and Yellowstar get onto the Rocket tower, but this is Poke in the mid lane. Overpower playing very aggressive.
Actually sliding through the minions there, I think taking a bit more damage than he would have hoped for from that one. And Peck is like, okay, you're sliding around, I'm just going to throw a couple of auto attacks your way and we'll be good. But Overpower does have that slight experience level over Xpeke plus the CS lead here. That'll only be just a few, but this turret is definitely not going to be up there for long. We can see that Rocket not relenting any pressure on that side of the map.
I really like the advantage Rocket have given themselves. We talked about how the early game and the laning was going to be so important for Rocket's all physical composition. They've already got a noticeable more amount of HP off that top tower. If Jankos and Zazas can defend the bottom tower and allow Celaver to secure this top one, then rotate, it's immediate gold and map advantage to Rocket.
What definitely could be the final push onto this tower is well underway. A couple of minions actually in there still from that one, and as the last minion dies, Celaver gets the last hit on it, and that will be the first turret of the game going in favor of Rocket.
So very, very well played. They've got a small gold advantage, and now we should be expecting Rocket to actually lane swap. I think Zazas should be going to the top lane. He's already got a small lead over Soaz and CS, but he's actually behind on XP, thanks to being a little bit late to that lane. So we'll see if this Renekton Shyvana matchup still plays in Zazas' favor, even though he is a little bit down on the experience bar.
And funnily enough, when we compare that whole 2v1, if you look at the AD carries, Celaver actually behind by quite the margin at this point. 14 CS that Reckless has in his advantage, and we said it earlier on that Reckless is always solid when it comes to the farming game. Even when Fnatic as a team start to fall behind, you always see him up there in terms of the CS numbers. But now it's going to be that 2v2. We'll see if Fnatic actually try and change things around, and with a Shyvana recall and the duo recall in there on your minimap, it looks like they may see that switch again.
We'll have to see. I wonder if that isn't just an opportune recall because neither of those laners had gone back in a moment or two. You do see that it does look like they're going to be going to the straight, 2v2 matchups. And I think the CS lead that Reckless has gained is more because of Celaver and Vander's attempt to force Soaz out of lane and focus the tower down. So they've lost CS by trying to get the global objective. The one thing I do want to highlight, a moment or two ago, we actually seen Overpower being super cheeky on Yasuo and denying farm from Peke by windwalling his barrel and just preventing him getting those couple of CS. So it's just showing some good play on Yasuo in this mid lane.
Both of those mid laners though now up at level 6, so we'll see if they get called into action. Currently Overpower is headed towards the top side of the Fnatic jungle. Jankos is already in there, and that's because that red buff was just about to spawn in, is now on the map. Soaz is there on the top side. We've got Cyanide, who's not quite level 6 at this point, so he has no man drop if he needs to come down, but he will simply walk in there. Soaz coming from around the side, and actually they left Jankos alone. The barrel from Peke actually will knock him back, but the flash from Jankos straight over the wall keeps him safe.
That was half a second away from Jankos being dead to getting away. Thanks to an early flash from Jankos, the barrel from Peke actually knocked him further to safety. So good reactive play, but Jankos maybe shouldn't have been there to begin with. He had no support from Zazas. Overpower didn't appear to make any intentions to leave that mid lane, and it just meant that he basically got caught out of position and blew his own flash.
I have to give you some news in terms of trinkets. Soaz now does in fact realize that he doesn't have a trinket. I assume he came in when he was like, I'm just going to put a ward down. Oh wait, I don't have a trinket. I should probably fix that one. Has got himself a trinket in there now, so that's all good. However, he is behind on the CS. That was already the case earlier on. We expect it in that 1v1 matchup against the Renekton anyway. We still await a first blood at this point. 8.5 minutes in there. ROC picking up that early advantage and 1,000 gold lead by now, simply by taking down that first turret of the game in the top lane.
Yeah, and you can also see that since Xaxis has returned to the lane, he is still controlling Soaz. He's kept that small CS advantage, and he seems to be applying some pressure to Soaz and Shyvana. We'll see how that matchup continues to play out as both of them now have their ultimates. And there is kill potential if Jankos or Cyanide decide to roam. Cyanide is level 6 with Grand Skyfall, so there's also kill potential there if he jumps into a lane. We tend to see Cyanide ganking either mid lane with his ultimate coming in behind the opponent, or if his dual lane is playing defensive, coming in behind the AD carry and support. But it doesn't look like Sullivan Vander are really hard pushing that bottom lane, so Cyanide's targets might be in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think that's always the danger, knowing that the Pantheon is on the map, that if you push too far, you kind of freeze yourself out of that one. Meanwhile, Blue Buff's coming in there. Peke going to be taking that one. He is still 20 CS behind, having to go that Seeker's Arm Guard and double door and ring combo to keep himself early safe here, because we already have the workings of that Static Shiv in for Overpower.
Yeah, core itemization on Yasuo. Static Shiv into your Infinity Edge, and as long as you've got that 10% additional crit from your Runes of Masteries, you get 100% built up. The one thing that I do want to highlight about Overpower's play is just the fact that he's still got a CS lead on Gragas, who is one of the best farming champions in the game, and it's because of the way Overpower's using that wind wall to interrupt and disrupt Peke's gameplay. It means Peke is going to be a little bit delayed hitting a power spike, because Peke is also going for the Seeker's Arm Guard first, working his way towards an Hourglass. So that massive burst that you come to expect from Gragas will be a little bit later in this game.
So, where is that first kill going to come down? Cyanide had just wandered in towards the bottom side of the map, but there was a ward in the Tribush, which ROC realized actually did use the sweeping lens currently on Vander to search that one out and make sure that they could try and sneak that Lee Sin back in there to force some action on that bottom side of the map. But we've already seen pink wards going down around the Dragon area, which could indicate that Fnatic were thinking about that one. No, they just want to keep the control of that area of the map.
If Sullivan and Vander keep pushing up that lane the way that they are right now, I think First Blood could come in that bottom lane. Cyanide really likes to jump in behind his opponent's AD carry and support and give Reckless and Yellowstar some kill potential. Overpower almost caught up. Peke was just waiting out of sight. The one thing that Fnatic can also do with their combo of Pantheon, Karma, and Lucian is tower dive pretty effectively. You've got a shield from Karma, a movement speed increase, and Pantheon can block turret shots. So if they wanted to go underneath the turret, they could go in. Here's the man drop on Jankos.
Coming straight in towards that Wraith camp, and Jankos just going to head straight off towards that ward, but they're chasing him down here. Soas now getting involved. Peke not quite in range, but there's the stun. Jankos going to go down, and the man drop from Cyanide secures first blood here for Fnatic.
Very well played. That was just reactive play from Fnatic. The moment they realized Jankos was in their jungle, they jumped on the opportunity. Jankos, even though there was some decent vision, you can't really prepare for a Grand Skyfall. It lands on your head, all of a sudden Pantheon comes out of nowhere. What I liked was how quickly Soaz responded. He was there the moment Jankos was revealed, and it was a very well coordinated gank from Fnatic. It does open them up to secure the first dragon as well. Doesn't look like anyone from Rocket's going to contest this.
Now, Vander just off to the side here. He's going to throw a ward down, but that will only give them vision and at least the timer on that dragon for the next time that it does come into the game. That puts Fnatic ahead now in the gold with that single kill, with the first dragon of the game as well, as we do see Yellowstar after that one just coming up to this mid lane with Reckless as well. So looking like they want to put a 2v1 against Yasuo, whose CS lead, I wouldn't say continue to grow, but stuck around the similar good lead that he's had over Peke so far.
Yeah, Yasuo is really sort of keeping Peke in line, is I think the best way to highlight that fact. Peke roaming down to the bottom lane, maybe to not face the static Shiv Yasuo, because there is, as we said, that kill potential. Alternatively, it could also need to deny Overpower. If you stick both Karma and Reckless and Karma and Lucian in the mid lane, it's much more difficult to wind wall everything that gets thrown at you. The one thing we do need to just keep reminding everybody about is that Rocket's team composition needs to be ahead by a significant amount in gold in order to win straight up 5v5s. If, however, they do get a good wombo combo, a Dragon's Rage that knocks up 3 or 4 people into a good last breath from Yasuo, that could be a determining factor in picking out kills.
Oh, right now we see Overpower going in on towards Peke. He'll be having flashbacks of critical strikes coming his way from the Intel Extreme Master in Katowice. He's done well here. Actually will get the kill onto Overpower. A good bit of kiting around the tower. Did go down though in the same time.
Traded 1-for-1. If Peke did not flash that knock-up from the Steel Tempest of Overpower, Overpower would have been able to get that kill and make it out with his life. But some good, tap dancing shoes there from Peke allows him to survive, and that was the kill potential we were talking about. The moment that static shift was built up, Overpower had the damage to solo Peke, even though Peke has that additional armor from that Seeker's Arm Guard. So well played by Overpower to get the kill, but even better played by Peke to get a reply.
And speaking of Peke, look at that CS now. Bang, even almost. So he's really come back nicely in that little encounter. We see a lot of wards down on this bottom side of the map. Dragon, of course, was already taken away by Fnatic, and Reckless and Yellowstar now moving in on towards Fnatic's possible first turret of the game. Yellowstar got a lot of zoning potential there, throwing out that damage towards Selva and Vanda. We do have Jankos coming around. Fnatic need to be careful here. That turret is a very juicy target for them, but wisely they do back away.
Yeah, so they did. What we did see though was Cyanide is moving towards that Tribush. He has his ultimate available, so if a fight were to break out, Cyanide could have actually jumped in there and potentially helped out. I want to keep my eye on the support item that Yellowstar's picked up. He's got the Frost Fang right now, so it is the upgrade to that Spell Thief's Edge. And what we've seen from most of the international supports elsewhere in the world is they'll upgrade it once, sell it in favor of the coin later in the game, just because of the strength of that Talisman of Ascension. But because you're Karma and you've got a built-in speed boost, maybe Yellowstar feels that he doesn't need to go that route, so he can go for the additional slow from that Frost Queen's claim, if memory serves.
On the other front, in terms of items, Morella Nomicon picked up by Xpeke, of course, was forced to go in there to that Seeker's Arm Guard, first of all, trying to deal with Yasuo in that early game. Speaking of Yasuo, he does have a Vamp Scepter now added into that static shift, so should be feeling a little bit more confident about sticking around in these lanes. And while we're on the front of the Vamp Scepter, Bloodthirster was now completed by both AD carries.
Yeah, so they're going to be stacking those ones up. I think as both of these teams are playing up, Fnatic should be fairly happy with this early game. Even though they are a tower down, they were able to get the first Dragon of the game, so that's where the gold is evened out. In addition, the CS disparity from earlier on is now actually growing in favor of Fnatic. Soaz on Shyvana is now going to be able to deal with Xaxis on Renekton, so he's ahead in CS. Peke has evened up that CS gap behind Overpower, and Reckless is still holding on to his big lead. We did see Fnatic grabbing themselves that tower in the bottom lane. I think that is Grind Skyfall now in the mid lane.
Well, Grand is named, but Grand it sadly wasn't there for Cyanide. Comes in and Overpower's like, nah, I'm not having any of that one. Just takes a couple of steps back off towards his turret, and Cyanide realizing that that's not going to have any effect in that mid lane whatsoever, he goes back off into the jungle to the Wraiths.
It's such a difficult situation as well, because against other mid laners, Fnatic, they could have used Gragas to body slam forward and then explosive cast to knock the mid laner into the Pantheon ultimate. But Yasuo's just going to sit there and say, Wind Wall, no, do not want, get rid of that cast. So we do see now Sonic Wave does land on Reckless. Jankos has gone in.
Vander going in there as well. They managed to land the hook on towards Reckless. There's the combo going down. Reckless surviving there by the shields, and now the focus comes on towards Overpower. He takes the lantern away. Jankos will fall though. It's Peke that picks up that one. Look how low that entire ROC team is.
That was a phenomenal hook from Vander, but it didn't manage to get the kill. We see everybody getting away incredibly low, and Jankos just getting caught out by the members of Fnatic. He was the only victim. It does allow Fnatic to grab themselves another tower to their name, and with Dragon spawning in a minute, they should be able to get a lot of vision control for the next objective.
And they're actually going to be going home from this one. Let's take another look at that one, starting out with a dive in from Jankos and the hook from Vander.
So this was a really good kick. Vander actually realized the direction that Reckless was being knocked. The one thing you have to notice is Overpower only caught Reckless with his ultimate. Nobody else was knocked in the air, and nobody else took damage from that last breath. So Overpower dives in. It wasn't even enough damage to really burn through the Shield of Karma and Barrier on Reckless. Reckless gets out with about, a third of his life, and the damage from Fnatic was able to secure them that kill. So decent attempt, but they needed to hit more people in the air and get more people with that last breath.
Close little fight there coming in. We did see that turret taking all the damage, and now it's all about Dragon because Fnatic took out the first one of the game. ROC trying to get in there, a barrel roll through onto Vander as he keeps putting those wards down, and that Dragon is going to be well and truly started. But watch Jankos here. He stood on the backside. Let's see if he can land a Q. That goes in, lands onto Pantheon here, and we can see that Fnatic slowing down on the damage, and there they do finally finish it off. The smite from Cyanide comes in. Soaz would just zoning the rest of the team away on that top side. Solid pickup by Fnatic.
Yeah, and coordinated as well. They were waiting out the time of that Sonic Wave. You actually seen Pekka putting a barrel down, and you could see everyone Fnatic just sort of stalling for a brief second so they could combine all of their bursts together. They grabbed the Dragon fairly safely, and now they're grouped, much better grouped in the middle. They've gone on the turret, but it doesn't look like ROC can make anything of that engage. Zazus was looking for a stun, he couldn't find it.
Edging forward from that one, and it would have actually been a perfect time to get that one started. Note Reckless's position there, already pushed up towards that top lane. ROC have noted his position and are saying, well, you are completely out of way of this one. We're going to reply here, taking our second turret of your game. The outer mid lane turret is going to go in favor of ROC. The top lane, I think, will be taken down by Reckless on Lucian. And we'll see that in a second. There we go. So that turret is going to be taken down. So that keeps Fnatic 3-2 up, a trade of turrets.
Yeah, trading turrets, but I think a little bit of a mistake by Fnatic. They weren't grouped tight enough, and because they had to run through the forest, they needed to run the long route across the river, past the Wraith camp, to get in position to defend that middle lane. So it does mean that ROC at least open up the blue buff area of the map. Now Cyanide is going to man drop into this top lane. They're going for another turret.
Yeah, they need no reaction here whatsoever from ROC. That's 3 big sources of damage onto this turret. That is going to go down. That puts Fnatic 4-2 up. No one from ROC could come through the jungle. They had no vision of that one. Karma had come across as well. Peke was down in the bottom lane, making sure that that wasn't pushed up and they lose a turret on that front. Overall, great strategic play and good calls from Fnatic.
Yeah, completely. And you have to see that, you know, it's one of these chess games. Rocket can force Fnatic away so they leave the mid lane. Rocket say, we can get mid tower. You see Reckless continue to push the top tower, and Fnatic respond by saying, look, get Shivani in there and Pantheon on that top inner turret, and we grab ourselves the 4th turret of the game and have even more control of the map. The whole top half of the jungle for ROC is completely open and exposed to Fnatic. Now Overpower wants the tower, but he's going to be jumping on Pekka. Here comes Jankos as well.
Oh, is this, well, I was going to say a bait, but Soaz is far too far away from this one. Peke goes down. I think as he threw that barrel in there, he realized, okay, that didn't quite have the damage I was hoping for, and that is a kill back for Overpower. He's now 2-1-0, got himself that pickaxe in since the last time I talked about his build.
That is very important for Overpower to get a little bit further ahead. He needs to get items that he can potentially split push. One of the things that Yasuo does incredibly well is duel 1v1s in those sort of solo long lane positions, and because Rocket are behind on gold, on a composition they needed to be ahead, and because they don't do very well in siege situations, their wave clear is not necessarily the strongest, and Gragas and Karma can just poke them out under a tower. Rocket never want to be sitting underneath their tower trying to fend off Fnatic. Their composition does not work in that regard. So vision and finding picks is what Rocket need to do to get themselves back in this game.
You see Yasuo down on that bottom lane. Actually, Soaz was there as well. Big tanky Soaz, who has that Sunfire cape and probably has the money to finish off his Randuin's Omen at this stage of it all as well. He's decided, you know what, I'm going to go up towards the mid lane because there's not much doing for me there. I don't want to go up, even though I am quite tanky, against that Yasuo at this point, who could throw a few crazy crits my way and catch me off guard completely. Fnatic actually pushing on both the mid and bottom lane out now, just trying to keep that pressure. And as you said, as soon as one lane goes a little bit too far in, that's where they're going to be at their strongest, throwing the barrels down constantly under the turrets. ROC will have to fight them all back off at that point.
I think with the amount of armor that Soaz has right now, he should actually be able to deal with Overpower until Overpower gets more items. Vander, you don't want this fight. No one else from Rocket can support. He's in trouble.
He's picked up the hook, but I'm not sure, as you said, that's really what he wants. There's a slow coming down. Celiver actually comes across the side. Vander was forced to flash away from that one. Meanwhile, Jankos is coming in. He's landed the Q on towards Reckless. Are they going to follow through? Ace in the hole was put down, but that was blocked nicely by Cyanide.
Rocket reacting a little bit slowly to that hook. There was nobody in range to jump in there, and you actually see Jankos thinking about going in. He has already once gone in on Reckless to do that sort of insect type play, knocking somebody into the dangers area of your map. Now Jankos clearing out a pink ward. He's got caught by Reckless and Yellowstone. Here's a man drop. Cancelled.
Cancelling that one out, and I think Cyanide realized, okay, that might be a little bit too deep there. We don't really have the vision that far down on the map. let's not get caught out from any of that one. However, Fnatic have pushed 3 men, make that 4 now over towards this bottom turret. Oh, we can see that ROC actually positioned. Jankos has to safeguard away, but the rest of ROC coming in. It's all about the hook. Misses from Vander, they can't follow up.
Yeah, Jankos misplayed that one a little bit, ends up knocking Yellowstar basically to safety. He did the ward dash and then tried to get a Dragon's Rage kick, did not send Karma the direction he wanted to. Now, Fnatic are quite smart. With 1 minute before Dragon respawning, they've got a lot of vision in the red buff area of Rocket's jungle. And because they're sieging this bottom tower, knowing Rocket's composition doesn't necessarily do too great if Fnatic continue a siege. Rocket have pushed it out, and Fnatic have backed away. I thought they were going to try and siege up the tower and roll back to Dragon, but it doesn't look like that's the call. Playing this one a little safe.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. We say that all the time here as we see those recalls coming in. Actually, Reckless, I didn't see, has got his Phantom Dancer already done. I'm assuming has, okay, 600 gold to spend. We also saw a few other pickups coming in from that one as well. Zhonya's Hourglass, for example, done for Peke, along with another blasting wand. That Randuin's Omen is finished for Soaz as they start to come back out into the lanes.
So there's a lot of damage and a lot of items on the side of Fnatic. Thanks to them spending the money, they're going to have to retake control of the Dragon Pit area. You can see with Roccat in the river already, they've actually got a slightly stronger starting position. They're going to jump on Saliva.
Here comes the man drop. Can they actually get in there? Cyanide a little bit far through. As the hook does land onto Cyanide, he flashes away. Zaza's trying to get in the front of him, but he's all alone from this one. Is he going to get off? Another barrel comes in. Jankos now at the front. There's a dragon from Soaz. Roccat all down to about half. There's a good Randuin slow. Onto 3 of them. Peke is chasing Jankos down. He tried to get off towards the golems. He flashes instead there as the golems weren't available. The ignite won't be enough, but Peke does flash in there to secure the kill.
Flash body slam to grab the kill, and another moment where Fnatic do not hesitate. They pull the trigger with the Grand Skyfall. Cyanide picking the battle with Celiva, and even though Celiva actually got away, he charged his 90 caliber net and actually caught Pantheon the millisecond he landed. It was enough. Now Celiva's dead.
Yeah, Celiva is going to be dead here. There's no way you're getting away from that one. The dragon sticks to him. So Yellowstar, constant slows coming in his way, and that's just an unfortunate case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You also should probably add with no vision while you're doing that.
Yeah, and look at Fnatic. They've left Reckless to basically push the side lanes. About 10 minutes ago, he was pushing the top lane. Now he's pushing the middle lane alone. And the rest of Fnatic, they were sieging that bottom tower, at least pushing the wave into it. As it stands, Fnatic have got such a nice safety cushion. They've got a gold and an item lead. And because they're... No, didn't get it. And because they've got a comp that is actually stronger than Rockets in this portion of the game, in the sieging time frame, that lead is actually compounded even further.
So a couple more items being picked up there. Yellowstar gets himself the Mikhail's Crucible so they can cleanse off something that Roccat throw their way. Probably the hook that's been something really crucial to getting things started from Rockat's front, and another Randuin's Omen coming in, this time for Cyanide.
Yeah, remember this is an all-physical team from Roccat. And we talked about in picks and bans, and we've seen it earlier today. When you run an all-physical composition, the moment your opposition grabs enough armor to not be worried, with very little armor penetration from anybody on Rockat's side, it just becomes so much more difficult to get through that effective health. I mean, as far as armor pen is concerned, not a single member of the Roccat squad has any of it. You know, there's potentially going to be Lost Whispers picked up soon, but it's too late because they're already 7,000 gold down, and they've got to get through a Gragas explosive cast, and they've got to run through all of the slows of Karma. It's a difficult position for Roccat to be in.
And Peke obviously moving that Seeker's Arm Guard earlier to the Zhonya's Hourglass, which makes him all the more difficult to take down. He can afford to be belly slamming right in the middle of them and then spreading them out with that explosive cast. Meanwhile, we do see Fnatic getting some wards down by the Baron. Roccat have one right in front of that as well, so they actually have full vision of what is or isn't going on at this point in time, factually, around the Baron area.
So what you are going to see is Overpower and Yasuo trying to control these side lanes for most of the rest of the game. It's actually something we've seen from Froggen a few weeks back, where he gets his items and he's able to split push. He's jumped on Peke.
There's the knock-up and the ultimate. Is Peke going to be able to get away from this? Doesn't use the Zhonya's instead. He knocks him back with the ultimate. Overpower dashes in there as well just to scare Peke off from that. And that's going to allow Overpower to actually keep pushing this bottom lane, or if you felt safe enough, didn't know where the rest of the Fnatic team was.
Yeah, but at what cost? The rest of Fnatic are now starting to group up on the inhibitor turret. Soaz is so tanky and so strong right now, he's not even afraid of multiple members of ROC. The rest of the Fnatic team are getting more wards and more vision in the blue buff area, and it's really just going to be, you know, a crapshoot for Fnatic. Where do they want to go? Which tower do they want? Because they've got all the tools to take it down.
Last Whisper added in for Reckless as well. So from what armor that they've got stacked up here, ROC will be chewed through by Reckless on Lucian. Meanwhile, Fnatic have started to back away. Is still that ROC ward there. They need to scan that one out. They've got 3 sweeping lenses. One of them was active and available off cooldown. They've actually scanned the middle of the Baron pit and missed the ward that's outside.
Yeah, stroke of luck there for ROC, and not having their vision denied to them. You can see the rest of the members of Fnatic are peeling back to the Baron, so ROC are going to be aware of this, but look at the positioning from ROC. It's going to be so difficult for them to even clear the gap with Soaz running interference. The only member that's going to get there in time is going to be Xazos. We'll have to see how Fnatic do it. They may just peel and fight.
Karma so strong in this scenario as well, able to zone people out there. We see the ace in the hole coming through, and Yellowstar will block that one out, and actually that's going to force them off. There's a mix hook. Here comes the man drop as well. Vander dropping low already. Where's Cyanide going to go? Xazos at the back is the one that gets stunned up in the end. A lot of damage to him. No kill just yet, but that might come down towards Jankos, but he is overpowered. Dashing straight through. He's got 1 kill. The wind wall goes down, but Reckless will chase in to finish that off. It's currently a 1-for-1. Everyone trying to run away from this one, but Soaz continues to chase over towards Celiva. Will they back away? Will they go back to Baron? It looks like they're too low to risk it.
That was the fight that ROC needed 10 or 15 minutes ago. That was a decent last breath that caught up both Reckless and Yellowstar. But unfortunately, because Xazos was forced out of the fight so early on, he wasn't running interference for Fnatic. He wasn't keeping them focused on him, which meant the moment Overpower dove in, he just got shut down. This is the replay that I want to talk about. When you see Overpower getting in range, keep an eye how both Reckless and Yellowstar get knocked out. And Xazos, he's already, lost a half of his life. He just gets melted by the members of Fnatic. Xazos is running away. And look at that, Jankos solo in the team. Xazos was solo in the team. Now Overpower, he's solo in the team. Because ROC were not grouped together, it just allowed Fnatic to focus the targets individually, get them low, and get them out of the fight.
Could have been a lot worse there. You saw Jankos kind of running around in mini circles in the middle of it, and as he realized he was going to get leashed up and stunned by Yellowstar, he actually just kicked the closest person. That allowed them to get in there, and I think they can be almost grateful that that didn't go even worse for them in the long run. But kill's a kill at this point in the game, and ROC will take whatever they can get their hands on. We do have Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. I wonder if ROC are going to be thinking about going for that.
They have to try and steal it. I really don't know if ROC can actually pull off a team fight at this point. I mean, 7,000 gold lead, and knowing all of the power that Fnatic has in the pit, ROC would need to get a 3 or a 4-man knockup and last breath in order for that to work. You see Fnatic, they are here on the second. Barrel is even thrown out already. So the moment this Dragon spawns, it's going to get melted. And as we thought, ROC just... they're too far behind to really risk giving up more kills, because if ROC did and lost a fight, it would just give Fnatic a Baron.
Brilliant Dragon control this game so far by Fnatic. 4 out of 4 that have been spawned on the map Fnatic have taken, and that gives them a very, very healthy lead in this one. Meanwhile, they're starting to move up towards the Baron area. In fact, we're going to see the man drop coming in. Only one can take the Lantern. That will be Xazos. Jankos basically shielded up in the entire damage that the Colleen could throw his way. They forced them away, though. That's going to give Fnatic a bit of time to weed out the wards that ROC had put down and place some of their own.
Yeah, and very importantly, Cyanide actually cancelled the Grand Skyfall as well, so it will be available to him the next time he wants to throw it down. Fnatic could decide to tower dive with the strength of Soaz, and knowing that Cyanide could just force them out. Just going to siege it down. Soaz in a little bit of trouble, and Jankos doesn't connect with the Sonic Wave, so again, nothing really comes of it. And you see how ROC are not... they're not sitting under the tower. They're not trying to wave clear and just stall the game out, because their comp doesn't do well in those situations. They're trying to find a flank, trying to find a way in to find a pick.
Yeah, we saw how much damage Karma does there to Celiva, and that's just the support after all. If Gragas lands a big barrel in there, you can kiss him goodbye if the combo does land for Fnatic. Meanwhile, blue buff is going to be up here. We are going to see the man drop coming in, and once again cancelled actually by Cyanide as he realized that was already gone.
Yeah, so Cyanide not wasting his ultimates this time around. I think Fnatic may be looking for some confidence. They haven't actually had an extended siege at all. I mean, if you go all the way back to about 2 Dragons ago where Fnatic were pushing the bottom tower, I thought they were going to use their comp to sit and just throw barrels and Karma poke out. Doesn't look like the case. Jankos going in. He's caught reckless.
Oh, the kick's surely going to come down. There we go. And there is Overpower to finish things off. That's the first kill here for Rocket. Can they get any more? Yellow Star going to take a big hit. The Q had already connected from Jankos. Good counter barrels here from Peke. And Overpower still chasing in. There's the poke back. And there is the push forward. Cyanide going low. Celeber gets himself that one. That's a 2 for 0. But now the Dragon is in here. Celeber the focus from Soaz. They get that 1 kill back. Zaza's going to get stunned up. Not sure they've got the damage to deal with him. They need to get rid of Overpower and Vanda, and that's exactly what they do. Both of those go down. Zaza still at about a third of his HP. Barrels force him away, and Fnatic turn it around, come out 3-2 ahead of that one.
It all started so well for Rocket. They found a kill onto Reckless. That was a good last breath, and even better wind wall from Overpower. He put the wall up, blocking the projectiles coming out of Fnatic. It actually blocked one of Xbeke's barrels. The problem for Rocket is they kept chasing, and as they chased Fnatic down the lane, Soaz was able to re-engage, come from the side, and when you've got Soaz on Shyvana in dragon form with all of that armor, it is impossible to take him down. Soaz has even grabbed himself now a Warmogs after that last back, after this last passage of play. He's had that Thornmail for quite a while, and again, there's just not enough armor penetration, even with the last Whisper and a Brutalizer on the side of Rocket. It's not enough. Fnatic are on Baron now.
Yep. Going to see them kicking this one off, and who's the man around here for Rocket to stop it? It will be Jankos, but once again, Yellow Star just poking him out again, will leash him up, stun him out as well. Jankos has to back right away from this one. Baron already falling low.
Yeah, Baron's most likely going to be secured without contest here. Jankos doesn't have his flash. He wants to try and steal, but simply put, there's no way to get through that front line of Fnatic. So again, complete and utter objective control on the side of Fnatic. They've got themselves nearly a 10,000 gold lead out. Well, I call it 9,000. And all the Baron stats, now they need to siege. Now they just need to let the poke from Gragas and Karma do its work, and then grab the towers as Rocket are forced away.
You have to wonder if Rocket had not fallen quite so far behind leading into that last fight, would it have looked different for them? Quite possibly it would have. I mean, they did so very, very well at the start of things. Now, though, they're facing an even tougher struggle up against Fnatic, who won that fight in the end 3-for-2, have secured themselves that Baron. There's only one inner turret left up on the map right now, and that is down the bottom lane. We can see that Overpower is just pushing that wave out as far as he possibly can to make sure that Fnatic don't take that one easily.
Yeah, and Overpower's just going to keep doing that. It's the only option Rocket have available to them. But at this point in time, what Rocket needed to do was force those fights and force those engages much earlier on. You know, if you're in a composition where you've got this Renekton, Lee Sin, Yasuo at the sort of the 12 to 25 minute mark, you've got an advantage. The physical damage dealers, they don't necessarily need as many items to scale up and get those kills, and unfortunately, Rocket just took too long to find those moments. Now all of a sudden, Fnatic, they're grouped up in this mid lane, they've got Baron, you see Soaz pushing in the top, and we'll have to see how long this siege lasts, because Rocket are doing a fairly good job at wave clearing, but it is quite risky.
Fnatic switching around from the mid to that top tower. Rocket going to try and react to this one as well, as Zaza's going to stun Soaz, but he just does not care right now. He is so ridiculously tanky, but there's a knock-up towards the back. Reckless has to flash away, throws down the Culling. Peke now on a rampage to get one. Zazas is going to go down. Jankos will actually dash away. They pop the talisman, but this is going to be the first inhibitor, and Fnatic might not stop there.
Yeah, Fnatic have got so much damage, they can grab themselves another inhibitor. They don't have minions to necessarily get onto the Nexus turrets though, and we just seen in that situation a multi-man knockup on the side of Fnatic for Rocket, but unfortunately, because of the shield from Karma, plus Mikhail's, plus her shield, couldn't do anything, and Fnatic were just on a rampage.
Absolutely destroying Jankos, who came in there as a last-ditch attempt, the ace in the hole, trying to get it through onto Yellow Star, but again, Soaz, so very tanky, just takes that one for the team, doesn't hardly lose any health for it. That's 2 inhibitors down. As we mentioned, bottom lane was pushed by Yasuo earlier on in the game, so that's going to take Fnatic a while to push back, even if they even bother to push it back, to be honest. We've just seen that Soaz can just walk straight under those towers and not really care.
Yeah, the way that Fnatic have been playing this game, though, it has been very defensive. You know, we haven't seen Fnatic pushing unless they're 100% confident that they're going to have an advantage. They've got themselves another dragon this game, and I expect Fnatic to shop, spend the money that they've earned over those last few plays and getting those towers, and then shove down the bottom lane. Wait until the super minions are in the base, and then siege. So League of Legends, basically textbook by the numbers, and I think Fnatic always felt that their team was going to scale better into the mid to late game. and they didn't take risks. They played fairly safe, and it's worked in their favor.
I think one problem we saw during that last fight, and even the one before that as well, the Overpower, they can set up these two-man knockups that can get him in there for that ultimate, but he just gets destroyed straight away afterwards. He's blown to pieces. He's got no defensive items in there whatsoever to help him get in, but then maybe more importantly stay around and do more damage to the rest of the team.
Yeah, and also remember, on 4.3, the shield from Yasuo's Flow has also been taken a hit. It was 690 at max rank at level 18. Now it's only 470. They're going on Soas, but this is a lot.
Well, he's going to get bounced around here in Dragon form. We can see the control they've got in him. He puts down the Randuin. He's still walking away, and that was the entire Rocket team outside of Celiva taking down Soas. But in the meantime, Fnatic have used that extra time to just go in, take down the final inner turret. Vander then knocks around. We do see the knockup coming in, but the ulti was already used in that last takedown by Overpower. It's going to come up here quickly, and Fnatic looking like they will back away. They've got super minions pouring in the top side of the map, though.
Yeah, so a very good play from Vander actually prevented Soas from getting away in his Dragon's Descent. It allowed Rocket to pick up that kill. Unfortunately, it hasn't actually accumulated to anything else. Dragon's Rage is still available here for Jankos, so look for a knockback. Last Breath is up as well. Here comes Jankos from the side.
Is he going to be able to kick anyone in there? Overpower is getting ready for that one, and there is the knock-up. Ace in the hole goes through as well. Cyanide going to be tracked down, but look at the hill towards Overpower. He almost loses his life. Fnatic do have to back away, but will they start to chase now? Gragas is full HP. Peke looking to get onto someone. Yellow Star slows down Jankos. Well, have they got the speed to get in onto him and push this one down? The super minions are flowing through towards those Nexus turrets. Fnatic buying time for them to do the work on their own.
Yeah, Peke's got explosive cast available again, and here come Fnatic. Look for the big barrel from Peke to get them this tower. They don't even need it yet. Celiva will always be so brave going that far forward. He is at risk of being blown up.
Celiva's the target, and there is the combo from Fnatic. And it was so obvious. He steps one step too close to Peke, and he throws everything his way. They do get the knock-up onto Yellow Star, though. Ulti comes in. Yellow Star taking a while to go down from that one. The third and final inhibitor turret is now down. An open inhibitor stands. Let's have a look at the Nexus turrets here and see how much health they have got left from them with those super minions from before. You can see at the top one, down to less than half HP.
Yeah, Fnatic are going to just keep holding Rocket in place. They don't have the Baron buff any longer, but they don't necessarily need it. They've caught Soas again. There goes Reckless with the Pally.
Not the Dragon you're looking for here from this one. Jankos is going to kick Reckless away from the team. The knockup comes through from Overpower, but they're going to destroy him here. Jankos now the next target. That will be another kill for Peke. The inhibitor will be finished up as Vander gets knocked back by the barrel. Finished up as well. Man Drop will come in to help the team out, but that was an ace for Fnatic. And the game, a spectacular victory here over Rocket.
Fnatic come into this game with a game plan. They don't make any mistakes in the laning phase. Their patience pays off. We talked about how their composition was just going to handle those 5v5s better and how they were better at sieging. And simply put, Fnatic just waits until they hit the power spike. Very well played by them. And I just feel Rocket needs to go more aggressive earlier on.
You have to feel that that is the Fnatic that won 7 games in a row, not the Fnatic that were losing and had no real answer to whatever was thrown at them. They showed tremendous control, some amazing individual plays as well. I mean, look at Gragas, look at Peke, 11-2-3 by the end of that one, and we saw how dangerous he was. Celiva, one step too close to the steps, blown to pieces.
2 barrels just instantly deleted him from that inhibitor. And, you know, we talked about how Gragas was going to take a long time to hit that power spike, but he did. That's the key. We knew it was going to happen. We knew Peke on Gragas was going to find the farm that he needed, and he was going to be in a position where he could blow up Lee Sin or Yasuo or Caitlyn or even Thresh at that point in the game. And Fnatic, they just worked their comp very well. They played safely. They bought all the armor that they needed to. And you never really felt like Rocket were going to threaten them for objectives. That was every Dragon, every Baron.
Every Dragon, every Baron, and that continues the woeful run here, obviously, by Rocket. I was going to say the only win that they've had recently in the last 8 games now, in fact, was against Gambit. They lost 3 in a row, beat Gambit, lost now 4 in a row. Not looking good for what we were. We didn't quite know what to expect from Rocket coming into the season. They proved us all wrong, I think, at the start of it, but now they're really struggling to find their groove and stay consistent.
You have to draw a comparison to Meet Your Makers from last year. How Meet Your Makers came in, they hit super hard in weeks 1 and 2, and then fell down, you know, very sharply after that. Now Rocket, they lasted longer. I think they had 3 or 4 weeks of good performances. And now teams have just figured them out. They're not falling prey to Jankos' ganks early on. I also feel like the pick and ban phase from Roccat is not necessarily the strongest. They tried double AP a while ago. They had LeBlanc top, they had Vladimir mid. You know, we talked about the age structure, talked about the Wukong. I think Roccat are experimenting to try and find their groove.
Well, we did see some interesting plays from them there. The Yasuo pick for Overpower in the mid lane wasn't without its spectacular moments, I think we can say, but overall just didn't really get to a position where they could really challenge. They could get 1 or 2 people low, maybe even burst down Reckless, but more than that just didn't work for them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the Yasuos that we're seeing in Europe have not been anywhere near the same level of Zitai that we've seen at IEM last weekend, because he is just phenomenal. We've actually got a replay of one of those Yasuo knockups. Let's pull that one up onto your screen. It's sitting at about 33 minutes on the clock. Let's start the replay. And what you guys want to be looking for is Reckless's position. And then immediately after Reckless gets knocked up in the air, you've seen Overpower jumping on him with Last Breath and putting down a great wall. Take a look at this now at slow speed. Reckless is about to get knocked up, instant Last Breath, and the moment that we see, hey, what's up, Cyanide? The moment that we see Overpower landing back on the ground, the wind wall comes out. It actually blocked another one of Pekka's barrels and some more of the damage coming out of Yellow Star. It was a good combo from Overpower. It just came too late. They needed that much earlier on.
And that's actually Cyanide's face from when that happened, because they were able to turn it around. They didn't have enough damage to finish off that game. Good win for Fnatic, and remember that you guys can share your own blockbuster moments with us by tweeting them to @LOL Esports with the hashtag #LCSBigPlays. Overall, Fnatic, I said it in the start of this one, on the up and up. Intel Extreme Masters World Championship seems to have given them quite a lot of confidence. That's a scary, a confident Fnatic is a scary one. You want to play Fnatic when they're completely down and out and feeling like they can't beat the worst of teams around.
I would go as far as to say that it was confident, controlled, and patient. Because there was a lot of times, especially in the mid game, where I sort of felt like Fnatic could have pressed their advantage more, but they played it safe. They played it a bit cautious. They didn't want to run the risk of those knockups. They didn't want to run the risk of getting caught out, giving up kills, and then being in trouble. So I think overall, it was a good performance, and I can't wait to see how they perform tomorrow, because the last sort of 5 or 6 games for Fnatic have been very up and down and very shaky.
Well, let's send it over to Shox and Deficio. We're ready to talk to Fnatic Cyanide after that great victory.
Thank you very much, Joe. Deficio has joined me here, and we have Cyanide from Fnatic here with us after that win. Very good game from you guys versus Roccat. Before we go into picks and bans, maybe tell me how important it is to win a game here in the European LCS after, of course, doing very good at IEM, but how much of a confident boost it would be to win here?
Yeah, like obviously we didn't play any European teams at IEM, so we don't really know our own level compared to the other European teams. So of course it feels really good to win here, to know that we can still beat the European teams.
And talking about obviously IEM, what's the difference actually for you guys when playing against, let's say, an Asian team or Cloud9, and then coming back here and playing against Roccat? Like, is there a difference in the way you play against teams, if it's European or international?
It's a bit different playing internationally, because like Asia has a bit different like meta game, and NA as well, like the heroes they pick and what objectives they do, stuff like this. So yeah, it's really different. Like internationally we are of course really experienced, so we adapt really well. And yeah, well, gameplay-wise there isn't that much. You just do your best to win.
Well, how does it work then preparing? I mean, obviously going into Intel Extreme Masters, you guys prepared a lot, you wanted to win. Now coming here, going back again to the LCS, is there a difference in the way you prepare for the matches, or do you just go in and play no matter what?
Yeah, well, here there isn't as much pressure, because it's like, well, there's so many games, obviously. At IEM, it's like you do a couple of bad games and you're out. So there's that. We prepared more for IEM. Here we just mostly, because we don't really know what they're going to play. Maybe they're going to take something new. So we don't scout that much. We just go with the feeling what to do.
So just went with the feeling going into picks and bans. What were your thoughts overall about both comps when you saw them coming out?
Like I said, we didn't really have a game plan for this game, and we were a bit surprised about the Yasuo. We expected them to go Ziggs or something, but it looked pretty good, because we had a comp to pick off, and they had a comp to, I don't know really what to do, but they couldn't really push us or anything, and we could just wave clear anyway, and yeah, it was pretty good.
I would then like to hear, actually, talking about picks, of course, you're like, let's say, top 3 junglers at the moment, because we see so many different junglers. You obviously still play Pantheon. We saw K6 at IEM. We've seen it in Europe as well. And there's so many different junglers here for you. Like your top 3 jungle picks, what would that be?
After the nerfs, I don't know, but now K6, Elise, and the third one depends. Maybe for me, I would say Pantheon, because I feel like he really suits our playstyle. But I don't know, for other teams, it's different.
You obviously did very well in this matchup. How is it playing versus Jankos and ROC now? Difference to how it was in the beginning of the season when they were a lot stronger.
I don't know really about the difference. Like, we got better. Like at the start of the season, we were doing really great, and then we might have lost a few games in a row when we were not doing that great. But yeah, now we are getting stronger again. Like, we got a confidence from IEM, so I don't think they are like getting worse or something. But other teams are getting better and catching up.
Right, very interesting. Finally, I'd like to ask your guys' predictions on our next match: SK Gaming versus Copenhagen Wolves. The Fisho.
SK Gaming, honestly, I think they are, if not the best team in Europe at the moment, and definitely one of them.
All right, what do you think, Cyanide?
Could go either way. Maybe SK, because they have been doing really great lately, but I think Wolves can beat anyone if they just play their A game.
All right, well, thank you very much. Congratulations on your victory here. As for us, it's time to step off the Rift for a moment. But when we come back, Amazing and the Copenhagen Wolves take on Svenskeren and SK Gaming. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
Oh, that was not intended.
Not the dragon you're looking for here from this one. Jankos is going to kick Reckless away from the team. The knockup comes through from Overpower, but they're going to destroy him here. Jankos now the next target. That will be another kill for Peke. The inhibitor will be finished up as Vander gets knocked back by the barrel. Finished up as well. Mandrop will come in to help the team out, but that was an ace for Fnatic and the game. A spectacular victory here over ROC.
That's it, team for the goal. It was so funny.